Hi everybody, Gary Williams here for Toolbarn.com's Barn Banter. We're always talking about projects that you can undertake with good power tools, and of course we've got the good power tools for you. But we're going to give you an idea today about some projects you can do with some wood that you might not think of right off the top of your head. For example, if you look in this pile back here, these basically are just a bunch of old crummy pallets, and supplies for Toolbarn.com came in on these pallets. And that's what a lot of businesses get their supplies on, are pallets just like that. And this is not really great wood. It can give you slivers. It's pretty coarse. It's pretty, as you can see, pretty rough looking. But the cool thing is that you can take wood like this, and don't take me literally when I say take. You should ask if you can have it. They'll tell you yes, because otherwise the business has to dispose of it and pay to do that. But you can take wood like this and you can turn it into all kinds of cool things. And it really just takes a little imagination and some decent tools to do it. So we've shown you where you can find pallets. Now we're going to show you a little bit about what you can do with these things. And to kind of give you an idea of that is our producer, Steve. Now you've seen Steve before a couple of times. And Steve is a guy that normally shoots all the video, and he puts all these great videos together. Makes me look a little less foolish than I normally would, but Steve has taken pallet wood and I think made some pretty cool things out of them, and he's going to kind of give us a run through of how you did that. Now, first, it's kind of fun to see you on this side of the camera. You're a lot homelier in person, you know that.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, kind of run through some of the things that you did, and I think you said this was what you started with, right?
Yeah. So noticed we had a bunch of pallets hanging out behind Toolbarn. You know, everything you get in the world comes on a pallet,
right,
a semi. And so I went back there and I asked them, hey, you guys gonna use this for anything? And like, now they're just sitting back there. So I grabbed some, I brought them home, and then I thought my niece is having her first birthday was coming up, so I thought I'd make a toy chest.
Right.
So I started off, I was just using like a hammer and kind of one of these things.
For deconstruction or demolition, right?
To take them apart. Then I decided that maybe I should just use one of these.
Cut them apart.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the point, is you can either cut it apart or you can tear it apart. But you know, the idea is to preserve as much of the pallet wood as you can. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I found out that using a big 9-inch blade was a lot more effective than the little ones that it comes with.
Okay, sure.
So I use the Diablo ones are pretty good, and I use the carbide tipped wood cutting one, you know,
right,
for nail embedded wood. So
yeah,
because that's what it was, right?
Right.
So basically, once you get that done, the wood is pretty rough because it's been weathered. It's been in the elements. It's been beat up and everything.
Yeah, you don't want to handle a lot of pallet wood with bare hands, you know, until you work on it. So what did you do to kind of?
Well, I put on gloves.
Or put on gloves, right? But you didn't want your niece to have to put on gloves, right? To get into
No.
Right.
So I borrowed the 13-inch planer that we talked about in an episode about cabinets a while ago.
Sure.
So I used that, and you just run them right through, and it just takes off like an 1/8 inch or whatever it needs to smooth it out, and that was a lot faster than sanding it.
All right. But if you don't have a planer, you can sand it.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. Right?
It'll take a lot of time. You have to invite some friends over and give out beers.
Party, sure. Well, that's a nice smooth finish for it.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that it was nice and smooth for a 1-year-old to not need to get slivers. You know?
Yeah, of course.
So then basically once it's all planed, you just cut it to size. I just used a size that I could get out of a lot of wood. I mean, I based my dimensions off of my materials, instead of like how you would normally do it the other way. But since I wasn't going to go to the store to buy wood, I already had it. So
you fit the project to your materials as opposed to doing it the other way around.
Yeah. And then so basically just screw them together on the edges, and then on the inside I have these runners to hold them together.
Right.
And there's 3 in here. Then just get cabinet brackets from the hardware store and little handles on the side. Then I went to the craft store and got little letters to put her name on there.
Sure.
Charlotte Claire, CC. So there you go.
That's not the only thing you've done, though. You've done other projects with pallets.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another of those, shall we?
Okay. This one, we were looking at different pallet projects, and then our coworker Kendra, I was like, "You want a table? You want a coffee table?" And she's like, "Yeah." She just moved, and so I just made this out of. I didn't really plan it. I just went for it.
Just kind of did it. Your basic table.
Yeah. So same thing with breaking down the pallets. Another thing I should mention is when you do recip saw off all the nails, you want to make sure that there's no nails in the wood before it goes through the planer or through the sander.
Right.
So you're going to cut up your paper and mess up your knives. So
sure. You
just get a nail punch and a hammer and just knock them out, and then you can grab it.
So you want to have some clean wood so you don't do any damage to any of the equipment you're using, that kind of thing?
Yeah, because the advantage of prying them apart would be that the nails are easier to come out.
Right.
But it's a lot more work and a lot more sweat.
Yeah.
When you could just get a little nail punch. Once you run them all through the planer, I mean, all I had to do was I made a tabletop out of some scrap wood that I had, and then I flipped it upside down and screwed in all the individual boards, and then just assembled this bottom shelf. Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning that you didn't do this exhaustive search for plans to build these things, right? These are pretty much basic fundamental structures, and you don't have to reinvent a wheel to do this stuff.
Yeah, I understand what a table looks like.
Right.
Looked on Pinterest and stuff for different ideas, and that's what's really great about like those type of websites. There's just all these ideas, and you don't have to follow their directions. You can just be inspired and make up your own thing. So I've seen a lot of these online. It's a little wooden six-pack holder. Like craft beer is really hot right now, and people brew their own and stuff. And this is actually another idea was for like a groomsman gift.
Right.
You know. So I didn't know how to make one, and I kind of looked it up, but I'm not really the type of person to necessarily follow directions. So what I did was I winged it, and I made this one. This is my prototype. And I basically just measured beer bottles and figured it out.
Right.
And so this one looked
You probably intuitively knew what those beer bottles actually measured out to be, right?
Well, that was like 2.5 inches.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you just gripped it in your hand and said, okay, so 1 inch or no, okay, all right.
No, I used my high quality Milwaukee.
Sure. That's what I would have done.
Oh yeah. But anyway, so then I improved on the design, and I put these little curves. I used a CD to get my curve going.
Right.
And just glued and brad nailed it. I had some trouble with the brad nail missing, but that's the first time I ever used one. So.
And there are all kinds of different ways to fasten these things together with angled, little pieces of angled metal, or a brad nail, or glue, or whatever. Different ways to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think I could have been alright with just glue and clamps. But
whether you're doing it for a living or you're doing it just for home improvement types of projects or whatever, it's great to do things with your hands and to see the finished results. And this is something that I would suspect your niece will have for a long time.
She better.
It came from Uncle Steve.
Yeah.
You know, even though kids tear these things apart, or some things apart pretty rapidly. But
well, I brought it out to the birthday party, and then my dad was telling me, "Oh, that's what I made for my first niece." I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'd follow the family tradition." I thought I was being unique, but I guess I forgot that he made one for my cousin. But
that's great. Well, that is great, though. And I think it's worth noting that really, of all the things that you use to put these things together, to make these things, maybe the one thing that everybody wouldn't have in their workbench at home or their workshop at home would be the planer.
Yeah.
But you can get around that by sanding. It takes longer, but you can sand the surfaces down to smooth those out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then The hand planers are a lot cheaper. You can get one for $100 or so.
Okay.
So if you don't mind making multiple passes,
Sure.
you save a couple $100.
Right. Well, look, it's cool. I think it's very cool. You look at the assortment of tools that Steve used here to do these projects. You'll find them all at Toolbarn.com. That's not a shameless plug. That's a legitimate plug, because these are all great tools. True. They really are. And it's nice to be able to use power tools on a kind of an old-fashioned project like this. And if you need some, if you're looking for some, check out Toolbarn.com, because I promise you we'll have them. So thanks for joining us, and we hope you're with us next time.